He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You'll never be me." And I didn't flinch. I just said, "I don't want to be." People always think it was love at first sight. That the moment I met MJ, I probably froze or smiled or dropped a tear like a kid meeting his idol. But the truth? It wasn't like that. It was heavier, tighter, like walking into a room full of pressure. All-Star Weekend, back hallway, lights low, and someone whispered behind me, "Mike wants to talk to you." Just like that. No cameras. No warm-up. Just me and him. He didn't say hi. Didn't smile. Just looked me up and down like he was reading the stats written on my skin. His first words? "You'll never be me." Not angry. Not arrogant. Just certain. Like gravity. I didn't even blink. "I don't want to be," I said. He tilted his head, smirked, then leaned a little closer. "Being me ain't what you think it is. You sure you're ready for what you're chasing?" That's when my stomach dropped, because I thought I was ready. I thought being compared to him was the prize, the crown, but he made it sound like a curse. He looked tired in that moment. Not old, just tired, like he'd been carrying something invisible for years, and he saw me about to pick it up without knowing how heavy it really was. I wanted to ask him so much. About the nights he couldn't sleep, about the teammates who feared him, about whether being the GOAT ever felt lonely. But I didn't. I just nodded. He tapped my chest twice with his finger. "Don't carry their expectations. They'll bury you with them." Then he walked off, just like that. And I stood there, 18, full of fire, full of dreams, and suddenly full of doubt. That night, I didn't tell anyone what happened. Didn't tweet. Didn't post. I just sat in my hotel room and stared at the ceiling for hours. He didn't insult me. He didn't praise me. He saw me, and that cut deeper than anything else. From that day, I stopped trying to be the next Jordan. I started figuring out what it meant to be the first LeBron. But it wasn't a clean switch. It was slow, sometimes messy. Some nights, I still felt like I was running in his shadow, not alongside it. But that conversation, that was the start of everything. The doubt, the growth, the fire. The reason I showed up in every city, every game, like my name had something to prove. Because it did. And deep down, part of me still wondered if I'd ever earn his respect. I didn't know then that one day he'd be watching me from the tunnel, not as a skeptic, but as a believer. You think I didn't hear him screaming from the tunnel? MJ didn't whisper greatness. He shouted it into the air. After that night in the hallway, the one where he told me I'd never be him, I thought I had MJ figured out. Distant, cold, guarded. But in 2012, Game 4 of the finals, I realized I didn't know him at all. We were up 2-1 against OKC, but nothing felt safe. Durant was cooking, Westbrook was wild, and my legs felt heavier than usual. Fatigue was creeping in. It was the kind of game that eats you from the inside, quietly. Then, late in the third quarter, as I was walking toward the free throw line, I heard it. Sharp, loud, like it cut straight through the noise of the entire arena. "Use your legs, Bron." At first, I thought it was a coach. Then I turned, just for a second, and saw him. Jordan, leaning against the wall in the tunnel, arms crossed. Not in the front row. Not courtside. Hidden. Watching. He wasn't clapping. Wasn't smiling. He wasn't even supposed to be there. But he was. And he was loud. That one sentence? It wasn't advice. It was a command. I didn't nod. I didn't react. But something inside me shifted. He didn't need to be close. He didn't need a mic. That voice, his voice, had weight. Fourth quarter came. I remembered what he said. I attacked differently. Drove differently. Not harder. Smarter. With my legs. We won. Series went 3-1. After the final buzzer, I scanned the crowd. I wanted to find him. Maybe say thanks. Maybe just look him in the eye this time. Not as the kid he warned once, but as a man who understood the weight of greatness. But he was gone. No handshake. No spotlight. Just a ghost in the tunnel. That's what made it hit harder. He didn't come for attention. He came because he knew something I didn't. I was almost there, but not quite. And he wanted to push me, just once, to make sure I got there. People asked me who coached me best in those finals. SPO was brilliant. My teammates had my back. But you want to know the real truth? MJ gave me more in that one shout than some coaches gave me in a season. Because that moment wasn't about technique. It was about recognition. About two giants standing on the same ground for the first time, not across eras, not in history books, but right there in that tunnel. And suddenly, that conversation in the hallway made sense. He didn't say I'd never be him out of ego. He said it out of protection. But this time he didn't warn me. He pushed me. That scream didn't haunt me. It carried me. Everyone else stood and clapped. He didn't. He just nodded once. That nod? It meant more than a trophy. Game 7. Cleveland. I was on the floor, on my knees, screaming, not out of pain, not even joy. It was something else. Something deeper. A scream that came from every failure, every doubt, every "he's not Jordan" headline. We did it. We came back from 3-1. For Cleveland. For history. For me. Confetti rained like a storm. Teammates ran wild. I held the trophy tight like a newborn. But then, I looked up, and there he was, in the VIP suite. Michael Jordan, surrounded by suits, legends, cameras, lights. Everyone around him was clapping, some even wiping tears. But not him. He didn't move, didn't blink. Then slowly he stood and gave me one nod. Just that. One motion. No smile. No applause. And I swear to God, it shattered me more than anything that night. Because I knew what it meant. He'd seen it all. The blocks. The pass. The comeback. The pressure. The pain. He didn't need to say anything. That nod? That was the handshake we never had. The approval I stopped chasing, but still deep down wanted. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't for the cameras. It was for me. And suddenly, I remembered something. Back in 2006, early in my career, I had MJ's poster in my locker. I used to stare at it before every game. Not for inspiration, but because I wanted to be him. To be accepted by him. But after that hallway talk in 2003, after that tunnel shout in 2012, I thought maybe that approval would never come. Maybe I wasn't his kind of player. Maybe I wasn't ruthless enough. Cold enough. Jordan was a killer. I was a leader. Different blood. Same fire. But that nod? It said, "You're different. But you made it." I didn't cry when I won that ring. Not at first. But after seeing him, just him, I felt the tears. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like the kid trying to follow MJ's footsteps. I felt like a man who'd carved his own. I never told anyone about that moment. Didn't post it. Didn't bring it up in interviews. But it stayed with me. Because that nod, it wasn't just respect. It was release. Release from the chase. Release from the comparisons. Release from needing to be him. He didn't need to hug me. He didn't need to speak. That nod said it all. You earned it. Not because you won, but because you didn't break. He told me I played it wrong, and I agreed. I hated that I did. But he was right. He was always right. After that nod in 2016, I thought me and MJ were finally good. Not friends. Not rivals. Just two men who respected the grind. But in 2021, we met again, this time not in tunnels or suites. Just two guys on a golf course in Florida. No media. No tension. Just silence, swings, and whatever truth was left between us. I didn't expect him to bring it up. But on the 9th hole after I botched a simple putt, he chuckled and said, "Reminds me of that Dallas series. You had him. Then you played it safe." I froze. Didn't smile. He sipped his drink and kept looking forward. You passed when you should have punished. Settled when you should have stormed. He wasn't taunting me. He wasn't even mad. He was just honest. And it stung. Because I'd spent a decade rewriting that series in my head. Telling myself I was young. That the system wasn't right. That was just a bad matchup. But hearing him say it, without judgment, without hesitation, cut through all that noise. I looked at him and said, "You really think I played it wrong?" He didn't even look back. "You know you did." Silence. I wanted to defend myself. Bring up the stats. The pressure. The expectations. But what was the point? I knew he was right. And I hated that I agreed. So I just nodded. And for the first time, I felt something strange. Peace. Because maybe the weight of trying to outplay his legacy was heavier than I realized. And maybe accepting where I failed didn't make me less of a great. It made me real. He finally turned, looked at me, and grinned. But that 2016 finals? You flipped the switch. That was cold-blooded, man. That was me. I laughed. He said, "You had to lose one like 11 to win one like 16. We sat down in the cart, and for the first time, It wasn't goat talk. It was just man talk. He joked about my acting in those old State Farm commercials. I teased him about his jeans. We laughed like uncles at a cookout. And I realized something that day. I never needed to be better than him. I just needed to be me. And in that quiet moment, MJ wasn't a shadow anymore. He was a mirror, showing me where I stumbled, so I could see how far I'd come. That round of golf didn't change my game, but it changed how I carried my legacy. I stopped chasing his ghost and started honoring my own. The last thing he ever said to me was, "You never needed to chase me. You already passed me where it counts." It wasn't at a game. It wasn't at some Hall of Fame dinner or NBA event. It was a quiet charity gala in Miami. No cameras, just a room full of donors, families, and a shared cause. I was standing near the back, talking to some kids who'd won scholarships through my foundation, when someone tapped my shoulder. I turned, and there he was. Mike. No security. No spotlight. Just him. He gave me that small smirk. The same one from the tunnel. The same one from the golf course. And before I could even get a good to see you out, he said, "You've done it." I blinked. Done what? He looked around. At the kids. At the families. At the smiling mothers, hugging their sons like the world had finally cracked open for them. Then he looked back at me. "You never needed to chase me. You already passed me where it counts." I swear the room froze. Not because he was loud. He wasn't. Not because people were watching. Nobody even noticed us. It was just those words, like they'd been waiting years to be said. I didn't respond right away. I couldn't. My throat tightened. I thought back to all the nights I stayed up watching his highlights, all the articles comparing us, all the moments I told myself I had to catch him, outscore him, outshine him, outlast him. And here he was telling me I didn't have to. He patted my chest, same way he did back in that all-star hallway years ago, and said, "Legacy ain't just what you do on the court. It's what stays after you're gone. You built something that lives." I nodded, but it was hard to hold it together. I've won 4 rings, played in front of millions, delivered titles to teams people gave up on. But this hit different, because it wasn't about numbers anymore. It was about impact, about showing up for kids with no blueprint, about being a father who stayed, a voice that didn't go quiet when it got uncomfortable, a man who didn't just chase greatness, he redefined it. I didn't cry when I passed Kareem. I didn't cry when I won my first ring. But that night, I went in my car, sat in the front seat, and cried like a child. Not because of what MJ said, but because of what it meant. It meant I could finally breathe. It meant the chase was over. I used to think legacy was about banners. Now I know it's about bridges. And if you ask me today who the GOAT is, I'll still say Michael Jordan. But if you ask me who I became, I'll say someone he didn't expect, but someone he respected.